The observation deck of Station Kepler 442 offered a view that never failed to remind Anna of how far humanity had fallen. Through the reinforced transparent aluminum, she watched the Draconid cruisers drift past like ancient leviathans, their bioluminescent hulls pulsing with rhythms that human scientists still couldn't fully decode. Each ship was grown, not built, a living organism shaped by genetic engineering so advanced it bordered on the miraculous. Anna pressed her palm against the cool surface, her prosthetic fingers spreading wide. The synthetic nerves transmitted pressure and temperature, but not the phantom sensation she sometimes imagined. The warmth of Earth's sun, 23 light-years away and 3 decades in her past. "You're doing it again," Lewis said softly behind her. She didn't turn. "Doing what?" "Standing here like you're waiting for something to change." His reflection appeared in the viewport beside hers. A boy of 16 standard years, though his Draconid genetics made age a complicated calculation. His eyes held that characteristic bioluminescence, a faint golden glow that intensified with strong emotion. "The view's the same every day, Anna." "Not every day," she corrected. 3 days ago, there were 47 cruisers in formation Delta 7. Now there are 51. That's a 17% increase in 3 cycles. Lewis moved to stand beside her, and Anna caught the subtle scent of his pheromone signature, cinnamon and ozone, a combination that every Draconid hybrid carried. The human genome spliced with Draconid DNA produced children like Lewis, stronger, longer-lived, capable of interfacing with bioorganic technology that pure humans could only dream of controlling. "You count them," Lewis observed. "Every day, you count them." Old habit. Infantry logistics. Anna finally looked at him, taking in the scales that traced his jawline like a dusting of amber stars. "When I was your age, we were still fighting the expansion wars. Counting enemy ships meant survival. We're not enemies anymore." "No," Anna agreed, her voice hollow. "We're subjects." The Treaty of Proxima had ended the war 15 years ago, but it hadn't brought peace. Only a different kind of defeat. Humanity had been outmatched in every way that mattered: firepower, technology, biology. The Draconids hadn't needed to exterminate them, just incorporate them into the collective as a tributary species. Humans provided manual labor, artistic creativity, and genetic diversity. In return, they received protection, technology transfers, and the chance to breed hybrid children who might transcend their limited heritage. Anna had refused that particular bargain. Some veterans couldn't stomach the idea of their children being more alien than human. "My mother wants to meet you," Lewis said abruptly. Anna's hand fell from the viewport. "What?" "Matriarch SS Ref. Well, my mother, not my human mother." Lewis's bioluminescence flickered, a sign of nervousness. "She's heard about you. The human who won't accept neural integration, won't apply for genetic therapy, won't even use proper biotech." Anna glanced down at her prosthetic arm, a clunky mechanical construct from the pre-treaty years, held together with salvaged parts and sheer stubbornness. Modern Draconid bioprosthetics could have given her something indistinguishable from her original limb, with enhanced strength and direct neural interface capabilities. She'd refused every offer. Why would a matriarch care about a washed-up soldier who maintains legacy equipment? "Because you're crying," Lewis said simply. Anna's throat tightened. "I'm not. Not with water, maybe. But humans leak emotional data through your biosignatures just like we do. Cortisol levels, microexpressions, pheromone shifts." Lewis tapped his temple. "My neural implant picks it up. You've been in a state of prolonged grief stress for, well, for as long as I've known you. 3 years, for months, 17 days. Stop counting. You count ships. I count your suffering." He met her eyes, and his bioluminescence intensified. "My mother says that humans hold on to pain like a drowning person holds onto rocks. She wants to help you let go." Anna turned away, focusing on the distant cruisers. Each one housed thousands of Draconids, living in organic corridors that filtered air and recycled waste through biological processes humanity was still reverse engineering. The Draconids had achieved what humans had dreamed of: true bioship technology, where vessel and crew existed in symbiosis. "I don't need help from a matriarch." "Maybe not," Lewis admitted. "But she's offering anyway. And when a matriarch offers, it's usually wise to listen." Anna knew he was right. Matriarchs weren't just leaders. They were living repositories of genetic memory, connected to the collective consciousness in ways that made human neural networks look primitive. SS Reth commanded 3 cruisers and held jurisdiction over this entire sector. Her word was effectively law. When Anna asked quietly, "Tonight, 1800 hours, Sector 7 Biohab." Lewis hesitated, then added, "She told me to tell you something specific." She said, "Tell the veteran that I lost my human son to the same rocks she's drowning in. Perhaps we can teach each other to swim." Anna felt something crack inside her chest. A matriarch who'd lost a hybrid child. That was rare. Draconid medicine could cure almost anything, extend lifespans to centuries. For one of their hybrids to die meant something catastrophic, something even their advanced biology couldn't fix. What happened to him? She heard herself ask. Lewis's bioluminescence dimmed to almost nothing. Suicide. He couldn't reconcile his two halves. The human need for individual meaning versus the draconid drive for collective purpose. It tore him apart from the inside. Anna closed her eyes. She'd seen it before, though never this close to a matriarch's family. Hybrid children struggled with identity in ways pure humans couldn't fully understand. They belonged to two species and sometimes felt like they belonged to neither. "I'm sorry," she said. "So is she. That's why she understands you." Lewis touched her shoulder, a gesture that was purely human, learned rather than instinctive. "You're not the only one carrying dead weight, Anna. The difference is, she's had 200 years to learn how to set it down." The biohab in Sector 7 was unlike anything humans had built during their independent years. The walls were living tissue, bioluminescent veins pulsing with soft amber light. The air tasted clean and slightly sweet, filtered through organic membranes that maintained perfect atmospheric balance. Anna's boots, old military issue, worn and repaired countless times, felt like an insult against the smooth floor that adjusted its texture for optimal traction. Lewis guided her through corridors that seemed to anticipate their movement, doorways dilating open before they arrived. Other draconids passed them, tall and elegant, their scales catching the light in patterns that conveyed mood and status to those who could read them. A few humans moved among them, mostly younger ones with neural implants visible at their temples, walking with the slightly distracted air of people partially immersed in the collective's information stream. Anna had always refused the implants. She'd seen too many soldiers lose themselves to enemy hack attacks during the war, their own brains turned into weapons against them. The draconids insisted their technology was different, safer, unhackable. Anna didn't care. Her mind was the last thing she owned outright, and she intended to keep it that way. "Through here," Lewis said, gesturing to a chamber whose entrance looked more like a throat than a door. Anna steeled herself and stepped through. The chamber beyond was vast, its ceiling lost in bioluminescent shadows. In the center, resting on a raised platform that grew from the floor like a throne of living coral, was Matriarch SS Reth. She was massive, easily 12 feet tall if she stood, though currently she reclined in a posture that was somehow both relaxed and regal. Her scales shifted through colors Anna had no names for, iridescent patterns that seemed to exist in more dimensions than 3. Her eyes were ancient, compound structures that could see from infrared to ultraviolet, and they fixed on Anna with an intensity that made her feel simultaneously analyzed and understood. "Veteran Anna Reeves," the matriarch said, her voice emerging from both her throat and the walls themselves, modulated through the biohab's acoustic systems. "Thank you for accepting my invitation." Anna stood at attention, old military training kicking in. "Ma'am," a sound rippled through the chamber, something between a laugh and a harmonic resonance. "At ease, soldier. This isn't an inspection." SS Retha's tail, thick as a tree trunk and tipped with what looked like crystalline formations, curled around her body. "Lewis, you may wait outside. This conversation is between your mother and this human." Lewis glanced at Anna, uncertainty clear in his dimming bioluminescence. Anna gave him a small nod, and he retreated, leaving her alone with the matriarch. "Do you know why I asked to meet you?" SS Reth asked once the door membrane had sealed. "Lewis said you lost a son. You think we have something in common." Lewis is young and simplifies, but not wrong. The matriarch's scales shifted to cooler colors, blues and silvers. "I lost my son Krell 73 years ago. He was 41, which for a hybrid is barely an adolescent. He walked into a recycling chamber and asked the bioship to break him down into constituent proteins. Anna felt her stomach twist. Why? Because he believed himself to be a mistake. Neither human enough to die naturally nor draconid enough to live in collective harmony. He felt every individual thought as loneliness and every collective connection as invasion. SS Retha's eyes dimmed, the only sign of grief Anna could read. I was interfaced with the ship. I felt him die, Anna. Every cell, every neural connection, as it dissolved. It is the worst thing I have ever experienced, and I have lived through the extinction of 3 species. Anna didn't know what to say. In the silence, the biohab's ambient sounds became audible, the soft pulse of circulation systems, the whisper of air being processed, the distant hum of the ship's organic engines. You're wondering why I'm telling you this, SS Reth continued. You're thinking that your grief is yours, private, nothing to do with an alien who can't possibly understand human loss. Something like that, Anna admitted. I cannot understand human loss. This is true. But I understand loss. And I understand what it means to hold on to it, because letting go feels like betrayal. The matriarch shifted, and the platform adjusted to support her new position. You lost someone. A child. It wasn't a question. Anna felt her prosthetic hand clench into a fist. How did you? Your medical records are accessible to collective administrators. Your daughter, Emma, 7 years old, died in the bombing of New Kyoto Station 12 years ago. SS Retha's voice softened, harmonics shifting to something that almost sounded like a human lullaby. The same attack that took your arm and ended your military career. Anna's vision blurred. She hadn't spoken Emma's name aloud in 5 years. That's private information. Yes, and I apologize for accessing it without permission. But I needed to understand. SS Reth extended one massive clawed hand toward Anna, palm up, a gesture of offering. You refuse our technology because accepting it would mean accepting that your old life is gone. You maintain your primitive prosthetic because it's a scar, a reminder, a way to keep faith with the person you were when your daughter was alive. You don't know anything, Anna whispered, but there was no force behind it. I know everything about clinging to pain. For 40 years after Krell died, I isolated myself from the collective. I shut down my neural interfaces. I refused to take new genetic memories. I existed in a state your people might call depression. Other matriarchs tried to intervene. I rejected them all. SS Retha's hand remained extended. Then one day, a human child came to me. She was 8 years old, recently orphaned, terrified of everything draconid. Do you know what she said? Anna shook her head, unable to speak. She said, "You look like you're sad too. My mom told me that when you're sad, sometimes it helps to hug." And then this tiny human, who had every reason to fear and hate me, climbed onto my platform and wrapped her arms around my neck as far as they could reach. SS Retha's scales rippled with colors Anna couldn't name. I realized in that moment that Krell had died believing himself to be a mistake, but he wasn't. He was an attempt. All hybrids are attempts to bridge 2 species, 2 ways of being. Some attempts fail. That doesn't make them mistakes. Anna found herself walking forward without deciding to do so. Her prosthetic hand reached out, the mechanical fingers unfolding, and touched the matriarch's palm. The scales were warm, surprisingly soft, vibrating with a subtle frequency she could feel through the metal and plastic. I dream about her, Anna said, the words tumbling out. Every night. Sometimes she's alive, and I wake up thinking I need to make her breakfast. Sometimes she's dying, and I can't reach her. Sometimes she swallowed hard. Sometimes I'm the one who's dead, and she's the one left behind. And that's the worst one because at least then she wouldn't be gone. Lewis tells me you cry, SS Reth said gently, but that you won't let anyone see it. Crying doesn't change anything. No, but holding it in doesn't preserve anything either. The matriarch's other hand moved, massive and careful, and touched Anna's shoulder. I cannot bring your daughter back. I cannot bring my son back. But I can offer you what I wish someone had offered me 73 years ago, permission to stop drowning. Anna felt something break inside her, something that had been frozen solid for 12 years. She made a sound, half sob, half gasp, and then she was crying, really crying, her knees giving out. The matriarch caught her with both hands, gentle despite their size, and drew her close. Anna found herself pressed against scales that smelled like ozone and starlight, held by a being who had crossed the gulf between species to understand her pain. There, SS Reth murmured, her voice resonating through Anna's chest. There, you can borrow my strength for this. You can borrow my time. You can borrow all that I am until you remember how to swim again. And Anna, who had fought the Draconids, who had lost everything to them, who had spent 12 years refusing their help out of pride and grief and fear, Anna let herself be held by the Dragon Mother and wept for her daughter under alien stars. Outside the chamber, Lewis waited, his bioluminescence pulsing with hope. He could feel through his implant that something was changing, some frozen thing beginning to thaw. He pressed his hand against the door membrane and sent a prayer into the collective, not in words, but in the emotional harmonics that Draconids used for such things. Let her heal, he thought. Let them both heal. And the collective, vast and incomprehensible, hummed its agreement through the walls of the station, a sound like a lullaby for the grieving, sung by a mother who had learned to swim through tears as deep as oceans and as old as stars. End of episode 1.